Hi, it's Jen and Karen with the W2 Realty team. We're here today just doing a little video series. What prompted this was we had a bunch of existing clients that we realized were all going through the process of divorce or separation while buying or selling a home. And we didn't realize how many people this actually affected. So prompted us to do a little series. This is our third one. And we just wanted to proactively get some information out to you guys that maybe could be helpful.
Absolutely. We really feel that this is a topic where people may be seeking some advice or just have questions that they'd like answers to, and this gives you the ability to kind of get some of those questions answered maybe in the privacy of your own home, and give you the opportunity to see what resources are available to you in the future. So today we're joined by our friend Foster Weisgerber from McDougall-Golly. Foster is a family law expert, but also we wanted to involve you in this process with us, not because you're so knowledgeable in that, but also because you've been through this process personally. You've gone through the having to buy and sell real estate that we're talking about in the middle of a divorce, including children and so on. So you understand the emotions that are involved and the process and the challenges that go along with that. And that's kind of what we want people to understand, is that there are, as a team of people, when we're putting together that team, that there are people who are going to understand and help with that process. So thanks for joining us today. I guess we're wondering, from your aspect, what do people need to know when they're starting this process? What's important for people to know?
Well, firstly, thank you for asking me to join you today.
You're welcome.
And I do have to say at the outset that the information I'm going to give today is not specific legal advice to apply to anyone's personal circumstances. It's just general information about the steps that you should look into when going through this.
Absolutely. And so, we've talked about this before, that of course every situation is going to be different. And so we know there's no cookie cutter answer to everything. It's going to depend on people's circumstances financially, and their careers and their children, and whether they're keeping the home or selling the home. So in that regard, what steps do people need to take? What's the first thing they need to do when they're dealing with this?
Well, our advice would be to go speak with a lawyer first. That's where you're going to get the best advice about the steps that have to happen. And I would compare it to if you required a surgery. You'd never go through a surgery without talking to your doctor.
Right.
And you're going to have to talk to a lawyer as part of the process anyway. You might as well do it as soon as possible and have the best information available as you start the process.
Yeah, in our previous video, we were talking with a mortgage lender, and she brought up the importance of needing a separation agreement before they can do some of their work. So yeah, how does that tie in to your involvement?
The separation agreement is very important to this, because obviously when it comes to the family home and any decision to sell it, or for one of the parties to keep it, that has to be agreed between the parties, and you can't put the house up for sale without agreement.
True.
So you need to get the agreement there. And similarly, until you have that agreement and you know where things are, it's difficult for either the parties to purchase a different house, both because they don't know what's to come in the future, but also because, as likely Candace, the mortgage broker, told you guys, it's difficult to get financing without a separation agreement. Lenders typically require a signed formal separation agreement before they'll enter into new financing.
Right. So so we were talking about that too, about what options are available when somebody's going through that?
It may seem daunting and complicated at the front end, but when it comes to the family home, there's very few options. The parties can either decide to sell the family home and move forward from there, or one or the other can decide to retain the home and deal with that as part of their division of property.
So then talking about the separation agreement again, we actually had a real situation where we had gotten all the way through removal of conditions and then had to change possession a number of times because that separation agreement wasn't finalized. So how do you feel about that, about the timeline with that, and what comes first?
Well, as I indicated, speaking with a lawyer and getting advice at the front end, and then without the separation agreement, it's very difficult to either sell the property or purchase new properties.
So it should be finalized really before, so the timeline is going to be coming to you, going to the mortgage broker to find out what they can afford to do before they even get to us really in that process, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So what else do you feel is important for people to know? What things need to be considered when they're going through the process, when there's division of assets, when there's children, when there's pets, when all of that? What do you want people to know?
Well, we find, and it makes sense, that the most important thing to everyone when they come in, if they have children, are the parenting issues and dealing with that.
course.
But right after dealing with children, the house typically is the next most important item. It's typically people's most valuable asset. It also has all of the emotional attachments that come with the family home. And even when dealing with parenting, it's important for both of the parties to know what their housing arrangements are going to be when they're planning
School
parenting.
zones, things like that.
Exactly.
For sure. Is there certain things that if somebody feels a separation or divorce is imminent and they're not sure where to start, and your advice would be to talk to a lawyer, is there some sort of information that they should be gathering or thinking about before they come into your office?
Whichever lawyer they speak with will likely give them some idea as to what they'd like them to bring in.
Okay,
but
good.
but there's certain things that you sort of will always require, and a list of the family assets and debts, statements from bank accounts, RRSPs, the mortgage statement.
Yeah, like in regards to the home, because I guess a big part of the process would be, like you said, are they going to keep the home? Are they going to sell the home? Yeah, is the mortgage, how much they owe, does that obviously must factor quite greatly in the process.
It does. All of that information is going to be required by both parties when making a decision as to what they're going to do with the family home.
Right, because even if one has in their head that this is what they're going to do, they're going to leave the house and purchase something else, it's really going to depend on the financial situation as to whether that's possible, right?
So what do you recommend? Because I know a question we get right away is always, how much is our house worth? What's your recommendation for that in regards to people trying to value their home while going through a separation?
I think initially a market analysis
Right.
prepared by realtors
Right.
gives the parties an idea of what their options are.
Yeah.
And of course, if their decision is to just list the house for sale, then that's really all they need.
Okay.
But if the decision and agreement is ultimately made that one or the other is going to retain the home and divide the assets that way, you typically need to get a professional appraisal of the home done, so you know what value to account for.
And that makes sense. So I think all of that information was super informative and will be for our viewers as well.
It was, absolutely, and we appreciate you so much taking the time to be with us today and share that information. So if you want to reach out to Foster to get any more information, answers to your questions, we're going to link his contact info in our blog and also at the end of this video. So thanks for joining us.
Yes,
See you
thank
again.
you.